The NBA Finals feature two teams with very little finals experience. That's a lot of unknowns. It might be time to look to the stars for answers. We're talking SGA versus Tyrese Haliburton, plus new Giannis rumors, and LeBron might not be the only James in the Lakers rotation next season. That's all today on Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are free. We are available wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances today with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. I'm Doug Branson, host of Locked On Hornets, and your Shot Clock Sherpa, guiding you through the NBA's biggest stories every day with the help of Locked On's local experts. And I have two of the best with me, as always, from the Locked On Nuggets podcast. He's also senior NBA writer for the Action Network. It's Matt Moore. Matt?
The Orlando Magic announced their new redesign of their logo and jerseys this morning, and as predictable, the internet hates them. I kind of like them. I like the new look, especially like the pinstripes of them. The Magic's got a good color scheme on them.
The Orlando Magic did what I thought the Charlotte Hornets should do, which is just buy fully into the nostalgia and make it part of their whole ethos. And I like it. I like anything that gets us closer to the 90s. I liked all the NBA kitsch from the 90s, and I thought Orlando did a good job there. From the Locked On Bulls podcast, we've got Haize. Haize, the Bulls are pretty good in the 90s.
Yeah, we were pretty good there. Bring back pinstripes on everything. Bulls too, bring back pinstripes. I love pinstripes. Yeah. I love the Magic's new jersey. I don't really like the alternate, the mainly black one, as much as the other two, but I'm here for everything pinstripe.
All right, the 90s, they featured a lot of pinstripes. They featured a lot of star power in the NBA Finals, and that's our main topic for today. A lot has been written this season about how the league is now more about which team has the weakest link and less about which team has the best star. And certainly both the Pacers and the Thunder have been celebrated for their depth as they've marched across their respective conferences. But Matt, do you throw all of that out the window for the NBA Finals? Is this still going to be a star-centric sort of matchup analysis?
I don't think it has to be for OKC. I think it has to be for Indiana. You know, I don't think you can win this series with defense if you're Indiana, as good as I think the Pacers defense is. I think it's the most underrated of the four units, offense, defense, for both teams. They're still going to need a great performance from Haliburton, because I think that the Thunder are going to say, we're going to switch everything and we're going to take away all your passing. We're not going to let you dominate this series by passing and racking up assists. You're going to have to score, and you're going to have to score tough buckets. Can you do that? And if he can't, which it's unlikely I think he can given where his game is at, then it's going to be pretty quick. On the other side, the Thunder can win this if Shai doesn't have a great series. Like, Jalen Williams can dominate and they can win. They can dominate with defense, just holding the Pacers to under 100 points in every game, because that's how good their defense is. If Indiana is going to win, it's going to have to be Haliburton. If the Thunder are going to win, it's going to have to be their defense.
Yeah, the margin of error for the Indiana Pacers is a lot smaller than it is for the OKC Thunder, clearly, right? Like, I think that, yeah, the seasons it's two seasons for a reason. So you throw out a little bit of it, but you still want to maintain some of your principles there. The thing that I look at for this Thunder team is just how Rick Carlisle is going to show up in this series coaching wise. This thing I keep going back to, what is he going to draw up here schematically to help this Pacers team find some type of a competitive edge against the OKC Thunder, because the Thunder have so many different angles that they can do. Like they can just walk into the gym and they could find a way to do something special because of all the defenders, all the different looks that they have on top of the offensive weapons that they have. So this is a series where the Pacers are going to have to walk a very thin line if they're really going to want to make this an interesting series, in my opinion.
Locked On Thunder and Locked On Pacers did a crossover episode today, and both hosts, Rylan Stiles and Tony East, stood up for their respective stars.
Shai's just elite at getting to his spots. I mean, he's elite at getting to that elbow, the baseline jumper, slithering his way to the rim.
Nobody moves like him, and so guys just get off balance or out of position or just awkward. So it forces a rotation or gives him the slithery space to shoot or get to the cup, or like he does draw a lot of legitimate fouls because of all that awkwardness. I think a lot of people will hate it in the finals because it's a big stage, but it's what makes him so good. He's so efficient and at beating defenders and then forcing them to mess up. It's going to be tough for the Pacers to guard him. It's also going to be tough for the Thunder to figure out what to do with Tyrese Haliburton, the king of the adjustments. You can find a defense that might slow him down for a half, a quarter, a game, whatever. The next game, he will be ready with a solution for it, or the Pacers will. As a team, because of the rest of their great players, and that's what's made him so good in these playoffs, is it's very hard to keep him slowed down, and he does have such a high ceiling when he's getting 2 feet in the paint and can spray out from there against a cracked or tilted or whatever defense. No one in the league at the guard position combines passing, shooting, and scoring like Haliburton does.
Haize, you mentioned Rick Carlisle. You'll be looking at the adjustments that he's going to make in this series. Which of these superstars, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Tyrese Haliburton, do you think will force the other team to make the biggest, the most substantial adjustment to the way they've normally defended in this postseason?
I think if Tyrese Haliburton has the series that I kind of mentioned yesterday that he has to have if this Pacers team wants to win, he's the one that could force the Thunder to have to adjust what they do defensively, because Tyrese Haliburton is coming in there averaging something close to 25, 5 and 6 or something like that. They're going to have to adjust to that. They're not going to be able to switch as much. I think they're going to have to keep a defender on him, a specific defender on him, whether that's Caruso or someone else. But, you know, and I only say that because the Pacers are going to have to hold on for their dear life defensively regardless, right? So I think if Haliburton comes in there and has himself a series, it can cause the Thunder to try to adjust some things that they'll still be successful at, but I think it'll cause a major adjustment for them.
We tend to only think of these things in very simple terms of like, well, you know, when they pick and roll, they're so good at this and that and the other. One thing is weird. The Thunder actually have the 6th worst defense in the playoffs versus handoffs. Now, a lot of that is they face a guy named Nikola Jokic. But the point is that you can run a dribble handoff into a stagger screen. You can run Haliburton off ball, off of a screen, off a curl, then get him downhill. And now the big thing is they got to get Haliburton in a position where the defense is having to rotate. If everything is set for OKC, you're not beating it. As good as Haliburton is, you're not beating it. You have to be Luka Doncic in order to do that. And Haliburton, as good as he is, isn't Luka. But if they can find these mechanisms that force that, that to me is how this is going to happen. I think this is less about Haliburton and more about what Carlisle does to utilizing it the most out of Haliburton against that defense. I
think Tony East said this in the clip that I just played, but if he didn't, it's just an echo of what I heard when I listened to their crossover episode today. Haliburton's so good when he gets 2 feet into the paint. But we saw the Oklahoma City Thunder just completely cut Anthony Edwards off of the paint, you know, with their gap help. Matt, do you think they're going to be as successful at doing that against Tyrese Haliburton as they were against Anthony Edwards?
No, I think in part because Hallie is so much more comfortable on floaters and attacking specific coverages that way. Like Ant wants to get to the rim or he wants to shoot a pull-up 3 and he will take some of the mid-range stuff. Haliburton's got a little bit more of an in-between all-over game. He's got a little bit more of an east-west game. And I think that kind of differential matters here. But if they're going to do this, the solution is guys have to hit shots. You got to make your corner threes. Like this is what it comes down to. The Thunder all year have skated because they allow the most threes. They allow the lowest percentage on threes. You got to knock down shots. They're not going to feel open. They're going to be open, but they're not going to feel that way. You have to make those shots. If you miss, that's it. That's game over.
Haize.
No, I agree with Matt's points there. Like they're not only gonna have to make their shots, but they're gonna have to play mistake-free basketball, which they pretty much do. They don't turn the ball over a lot, so that's gonna be an important part of this series. I can't wait to see how and where they find their rhythm against the OKC Thunder, if they ever find it in this series, because once they do, if they find an angle to attack it, they're gonna have to dive into it head first, because the adjustments are gonna come defensively. They're gonna have to use that as much as they can. So this chess match of what this finals is gonna be is the thing that I'm kind of most excited to see in this series.
It's going to be very exciting. Coming up, we're not done talking about the stars. Matt mentioning that SGA doesn't have to dominate for the Thunder to win this series. That was a topic of conversation on Locked On NBA Game Night. I want Haize's thoughts and Matt's thoughts on what Nick Angstead had to say in regards to that topic on his show. And so many of these series have been won and lost in crunch time. Which star are you taking when the game gets tight? And later on in the show, Giannis rumors aren't going away, and neither is Bronny James. That's all ahead on Locked On NBA. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever been in this situation? You check your bank account and you wonder, hey, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It is your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It is a complete financial command center with all of your accounts, your investments, and your spending in one place. And you can go beyond just managing your money and start actually building wealth. That sounds nice. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on streaming services. Spoiler alert, it was a lot. Now I budget smarter, I get to save more, and the best part is I don't have to use multiple apps. It saves me time. I just use Monarch to check my finances, track my spending, and plan out all of my long-term goals. Take control of your finances today with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Today's episode is also brought to you by OpenPhone. If you're running a business, every missed call could be a missed opportunity. Think about it. Last time that you had a service emergency, did you wait for a callback? Probably not. That's why you need OpenPhone. It's the #1 business phone system that streamlines your customer communication and helps you scale all from an app on your phone or computer. I love that I don't have to carry 2 phones around with me. My business calls and my personal calls, I can deal with them all on one phone with OpenPhone. I can manage all of them and the text from one app, whether I'm at my desk or I'm out on the go. And my favorite feature is a shared inbox. Your whole team can jump into any conversation without missing a beat. Plus, the AI call transcripts and summaries are game changers for staying on top of follow-ups and customer interactions. And right now, OpenPhone is offering our listeners 20% off your first 6 months. Just go to openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you're switching from another provider, they will even port your number over for free. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. I want to go back to something that Matt was talking about in the first segment. He said SGA doesn't necessarily need to dominate for the Thunder to win that series. Rylan Stiles of Locked On Thunder, he disagrees. He says SGA needs to be dominant for the Thunder to take care of the Pacers. Nick Angstedt on Locked On NBA Game Night wasn't as sure. Let's take a listen.
I was looking through some of the best series that we've seen from players since 2000. You think about Shaq in 2002. He averaged 36 points a game in that sweep. Kevin Durant on the Warriors averaged 35 points a game in 2017. Giannis in the Bucks, 35 points a game in that series in 2021. I'm not with him on the Shai has to be special, has to dominate, like go to that level in order for them to win. I think that this Thunder team can get it done with their defense, and I think they can get just enough points to get it done. And maybe it won't take SGA dropping 35 every single game like some of those players I mentioned at the top.
Haize, do you agree with Nick and Matt that we don't need to see the MVP of the league drop huge scoring numbers for the Thunder to beat the Pacers? And should that be the goal, to just score enough points to win? Or should they go out with a, we need to dominate type of mentality?
Yeah, I mean, they need to go out there with a dominate mentality because this could be the start of a dynasty for you. But I agree with Matt and with Nick there. SGA doesn't have to have crazy numbers for this team to dominate or to win this series. They could do it as a team like they have, rely on their defense and just attack. So, the way that they go about it is going to be, fun to see, but Shai has so much room there for what he needs to do. He can really kind of play it off whatever that team needs on any given night. And that's what he did throughout the season as well. When they were missing players and everything else, he can be that for the team. If they need him to score big numbers, if they need him to lock somebody out, somebody up, he can do all of that. So I don't think this needs to be a series where Shai has to have 30 points per game for the Thunder to still easily win this series, to be honest with you.
That was going to be my next question, Matt. Do they need it? Do they need him to do that if they want to sweep, if they want to go 4-0?
No, they still don't. And that's just the reality of kind of where these two teams are at. Now, look, I think Shai's probably going to have good numbers, but there's also, you got to understand, he can have 35, but if he's not efficient and it's all grifting, I don't know if that's good for OKC. I don't know if that's the optimum kind of outcome there. I think if he's got 33, 4, right? Assists. That's a bad outcome for them. They need balanced contributions and efficient contributions. They do not need him to carry the weight for this team. They just need him to be able to contribute at a normal level. And even if he doesn't, as long as the team is hitting its markers, I think they're good.
All right, this has been a highly competitive postseason that, despite a shortage of Game 7s, has featured a lot of close finishes. So let's play a little game of who you got with the 2 stars that we've been talking about so far, but let's shift our focus to crunch time. Matt, SGA or Haliburton, who you got? Game for your life with 1 possession to win.
Haliburton, no question. Come on. The steal versus the Bucks and the finish, like the shot versus the Knicks. This guy hits another level when he stops when he stops trying to manage the game. Now, that's what I love about him, is that he can manage and shape the game throughout the course of 48 minutes. But when it gets into, like, you got to make a play, man, Haliburton's incredible in those moments. And he's got such great range versus Shai, not as comfortable with the pull-up 3, not as comfortable he's got to get to his spots on the floor. And again, totally deserving MVP, incredible season, amazing player. His playmaking this playoffs has been incredible. But to me, if it's talking about like a limited number of high value possessions, I absolutely want Haliburton.
Guys are turning SGA into Trent Dilfer, into like the game manager of
I made that comp of
MVPs.
I made this comp yesterday on buckets that this team reminds me of the Ravens a little bit. It's like if I gave him more credit than Dilfer. I gave him game manager Tom Brady, right? Not throwing deep to Moss Brady, but like game manager Tom Brady with Ed Reed Ravens defense. That's what this team feels like to me.
Hey, so you got.
When you do in Madison Square Garden the choking, like you're gonna get my pick. Yeah, like it's hard not like. Come on now, it's gonna be Tyrese Haliburton.
That's the petty pick.
Yeah, that's definitely the petty pick. Like when you do something that petty at the playoffs on that stage in the Eastern Conference Finals, you're gonna have my vote for anything like this for the foreseeable future. Tyrese Haliburton is really good, and he can do everything. He is so. Just versatile in what he can do, especially for you offensively. And to Matt's point, it's not to knock Shai or anything at all, but like you can trust Tyrese Haliburton to make any shot out there on the court, any type of shot out there on the court. So he's going to get that vote from me.
I'll say if you don't need 3, taking SGA to kind of slither and snake his way to the rim and possibly get to the free throw line, that could be a little bit of an advantage.
Yeah, if there's 5 seconds left and you need a grifter, absolutely. Grifter's too. Yeah, I don't actually think he's a grifter, but like, yeah, you need SGA then.
I have yelled at Nuggets fans because they're like, he's a grifter, and I'm like, I've seen Jokic been flailing these entire playoffs. Do not start with me on this. But like, that's just part of it. He's actually a lot like Wade in his ability to draw contact. He gets downhill and forces you to foul him, and he shows the foul very well. But like Doug. It's not that he can't hit it. I don't think Haize and I are saying that. What's the biggest shot you can remember SGA hitting?
Oh no, listen, I dug into the numbers, and small sample size, but if you look over this postseason, but even if you look at the regular season numbers, the numbers are pretty clear on who is the better shooter, who's the more efficient offensive player in crunch time, and it is Tyrese Haliburton. So, but let me zoom out a little bit and see if this changes at all for you. It might not. But what if it's not 1 possession? What if you're down 7 points and you've got about 7 minutes to go? Does it change for you at all? Do you then shift to trusting SGA a little bit more and that team maybe with that task than you do the Indiana Pacers, Matt?
They came down from like 17 versus the Knicks in the 4th. No,
I didn't say 17. I said 7.
And here's the thing is that this sounds like a very SGA hating. Again, like I think he was a worthy MVP this season. He was phenomenal. He's incredible. There's so many, like I wrote 5,000 words on this. Okay. But Haliburton does shape the game offensively at a different level. He just does. He shapes the game with his control of it. So you have the clutch time scoring, but you also have all that stuff before that sets up teammates, that gets everybody involved, that makes huge plays. To me, it just is Haliburton. You're probably right. We're going too far on this, but man, Haliburton's skill set offensively, the gap is on the defensive side to me. That's where it really gets to. There's a reason that I thought Tyrese Haliburton was at least worthy of consideration for first team All-NBA.
Haize.
Yeah, if you're down 7 with 3 minutes, maybe I'll pick SGA then because he's going to be able to extend that game, get into the free throw line. But yeah, Tyrese is just so good, man. But for the nature of the conversation, I'll pick SGA there.
Guys, turning SGA into Jeff Hostetler over here. This is insane. He's the MVP. He's going to hit the trifecta. It's crazy. All right, let us know what you think on YouTube, youtube.com/@LockedOnNBA. That was a fantastic discussion. I wanted to talk about, we talked a lot about the Batmans. I wanted to talk about who has the Robin advantage. We'll save that for tomorrow. Pacers have Pascal Siakam. Thunder have Jalen Williams, both all-stars. We've got an Eastern Conference Finals MVP in Siakam. So I'll ask Matt and Haize tomorrow who has the Robin advantage. Stick around for that. But coming up, we've still got a lot of show left. We go elsewhere around the association. Could Giannis Antetokounmpo leave Milwaukee and the United States altogether? North of the border, what would Toronto have to give up to land the superstar? And will Bronny James be a regular rotation player for a Lakers team short on quality depth? One Western Conference executive thinks so. What say Matt and Haize? That's all ahead on Locked On NBA. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Let's talk about something that doesn't get talked about enough, and that's men's mental health. There's this pressure to always keep it together, to perform, to provide, and never show weakness. But the truth is, real strength comes from opening up and taking care of your mental well-being. You have to be your best self. Every year, 6 million men in the United States experience depression, and many go undiagnosed. But talking to someone, a friend, a loved one, or a therapist can make a huge difference. Therapy isn't just for crisis moments. It's great for learning how to set boundaries, build healthy coping tools, and be the best version of yourself. If your schedule is packed as tight as mine, you're going to love BetterHelp because you can connect from anywhere, switch therapists at any time, and fit sessions into your schedule with just one click. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Talk it out with BetterHelp. Talk it out. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Raptors beat reporter Doug Smith kept the embers burning on a Giannis to Raptors conversation when he wrote this, quote, "I don't know if it will happen, but I do know there is mutual interest between Antetokounmpo and the Raptors. The wild card is the cost." Sean Woodley of Locked On Raptors discussed that very wild card on his latest episode of Locked On Raptors.
I don't see there being a move here that does not involve Scotty Barnes at a minimum. There's for a few reasons. One, the salary matching is just way easier with him. If you make the trade after July 1st, when his new deal is kicked in, the salary matching gets so much easier. It can just be Scotty plus one other guy, probably RJ Barrett, and you can make it work financially before you throw in all the sweeteners, picks, young players, et cetera, et cetera. If it's not Scotty, then Brandon Ingram's involved. I don't think that makes a lot of sense because I think Brandon Ingram, in theory, is like an excellent fit next to Giannis. We just saw Chris Middleton, a big creative wing with some mid-range pop and some self-creation juice, be an absolutely perfect co-pilot for Giannis. I don't think Ingram is involved, even if I'm not sure if it's 100% legal because he just signed his extension. One way or another, legal or not, I just don't think that makes sense for either side here.
Would it be worth it for the Raptors to go after Giannis, even if it meant giving up on Scotty Barnes, a player that they have invested a lot of resources into developing into the player that he is today, Matt?
I think worth it's hard to kind of answer just because it's Giannis, man. You get Giannis and that's pretty much the end of it. You get Giannis before he hits 34. This is interesting. So Windhorst about last week reported that they were big fish hunting and didn't say who. And then Doug comes out with this report, and Doug knows that Raptors organization very well. I'll provide a little bit more context here. I've heard that there's been some internal tension in Toronto with ownership in the front office, and ownership was particularly, I heard, frustrated that OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam faced off in the Eastern Conference Finals, and that they're so far, quote, far away. So I wonder if some of this is the front office trying to buy time. The move for Brandon Ingram really confused people. People are like, what, why? Right? It makes more sense if it's like, we're going to get Ingram, and then we're going to get Giannis, and then we're going to have Ingram and Giannis, and then I don't know, but some other guys. And I don't really love how that team looks without Barnes. I also will say this: Masai Ujiri has been very heavily personally invested in Scotty Barnes. That's his guy. Okay. If Barnes gets moved in that kind of a deal, my thought would be that this is probably not great for Ujiri from the perspective of who's actually pulling strings here. So this is all very complicated. I don't think that that team is necessarily a contender. I don't love the fit with Ingram and Giannis, but Giannis is really great. I don't know what's left over after that deal. It's not bad for Milwaukee, but if you're Milwaukee, why are you not going after the third pick with the Sixers, the second pick with the Spurs, one of those type of deals, or try to navigate a 3-team where you wind up with that kind of draft capital because you need to start back over? There's a lot about this that leaves me with more questions than I think assertions and determinations, Haize.
I think it comes down to how highly do they regard Scotty Barnes and part of their rebuild? How far along, like, that work that the Raptors have invested into developing Scotty Barnes, do the Bucks look at that and say, okay, now we get to reap the benefits of that while we're trading our best player, and now we have this player and tons of picks that we can start building around? Do you get Barnes and do you get Grady Dick in that case? Like, you get a more proven young piece and a young piece that's still developing, and you move forward that way. I think that's going to be the thing. It's that what not only are the Raptors willing to offer Scotty Barnes, but how then do the Bucks view that? Now, the Raptors, what are they left with? You get rid of Scotty Barnes, let's say you get rid of RJ Barrett to make the salaries work. I doubt they're going to take quickly. You're then left with Brandon Ingram, Giannis, Jakob Poeltl, OJ Abaji, and like, that's a solid team. And Giannis is going to get that. That's going to be better than some of the teams he's been surrounded by some of his times here in Milwaukee. But is that really a team that you look at and you say that that's a finals team? Now, if you can keep Scotty Barnes, that's what I'd be. If you can, you can have everything else but Scotty, because I'm going to try to pair Scotty with Giannis, and then I feel like we're in a more confident place as an organization. But if you want Giannis, you're going to have to pay the piper.
Matt, is there anything to make of how quiet it's been? I mean, we heard, well, it was like 2 weeks ago that they were scheduled to meet, but we didn't know exactly when, and we haven't really heard any updates on Giannis's thoughts on the Bucks thoughts on Giannis. Anything to make of the quiet here?
The fact that well-respected local reporters like Eric Nem have been talking about a gap year, to me, is indicative of at least that they did not get I'm out. Right. We would have heard if it was, hey, thanks for everything, but I'm gone. I think he's still non-committal. What I will say is there was a second meeting last week, according to multiple sources, between Bucks ownership and the front office. And out of that came mostly determinations on what they want the financial landscape of next season to look like, which is a reduced salary tax bill. Now, that's entirely possible with keeping Giannis. You keep Giannis, you clear everything else out, you have a gap year. You just get through it, and then you basically David Robinson it, right? And you try and go forward with Dame and Giannis, whatever either you get in trade or draft picks or whatever. But that to me is like the latest context. No one knows. No one's heard anything yet that I've talked to about anything as far as Giannis having made up a decision yet. I think he's still undecided on what he wants.
All right, we'll keep talking about it here on Locked On NBA. Let's shift gears. Athlon sports writer Sean Devaney spoke with a rival Western Conference executive that believes Bronny James will crack the Lakers' regular rotation next season. Here's the quote from the executive. I know the guy gets a lot of grief because of who his dad is, but we've seen a lot of tape on Bronny, and the fact is he was a lot better of a player in April than he was in October and definitely in July, unquote. Let's hear from the Kamenetsky brothers of Locked On Lakers with their take.
Do you think it's possible that he plays, like they said, 10 to 15 minutes a night, or that the Lakers just shoehorn him in, even if he isn't quite there yet?
I'd like to think they're not going to do that, just because I don't think that's what's best for Bronny. And beyond how it could hurt his development if he's just thrust into a situation that he's not ready for. The guy, as this Western Conference exec noted, the guy takes a ton of heat as it is. and that's while barely playing on an NBA stage. Think about the heat he's going to take if it feels like he's out there because of external reasons as opposed to he's really benefiting the team.
Haize, how surprised would you be if Bronny James were a regular rotation player at the beginning of next season?
I'd be really surprised. And Bronny James still needs a lot of development, and he has taken steps. I can acknowledge that he's definitely taken steps, but it doesn't really feel like he's ready for that consistent rotational minutes in the NBA. And the Lakers don't have time to get cute with this. Like, you're trying to build something here to where Luka can compete. You're trying to rebuild around Luka. I think that needs to be the focus more so than getting Bronny James some regular rotation minutes, because it doesn't feel organic. It doesn't feel natural based off what I've seen from Bronny. He's taken really good strides, but I think he's still a year away from being a year away, and that's perfectly fine. He has to have that time to develop. That's why what I hope the Lakers are going to do is invest time to really develop him, but it doesn't feel like, from what I've seen, that Bronny James is ready for that yet.
One, I hate to break it to everybody, but the James family priorities are no longer the Lakers' priorities, and that's been very clear. Now, I'll say, I think he could be. So Mark Spears has a story up this morning about Aaron Wiggins, right? And one of the things that I kind of wonder about is if you gave all of these two-way players the level of attention, conditioning, training that Bronny has gotten from the time that he was young, what do they look like? That's not to say that he's not talented, just that there's a lot of guys who are really talented, and Bronny's had so much skill development and so much work that he is going to be a little bit ahead of the curve on that and some of that stuff. His limitations are on natural ability, from what I can understand. And so he can get past that if he's got enough of it, right, to have been at least have been in the conversation. It was a realistic, hey, he might, and he had the heart issue and everything else. He could be a rotation player. I think that's let's put that as a goal, and we can go from there. But I think having it be hey, maybe he can compete for a rotation spot. There's a lot of guys in the NBA that get rotation spots. I think Bronny James could be one of them.
I think he'll get a shot. I mean, it's not a team that's featuring a ton of depth, so I think at the beginning of the season, you could definitely see that happening, and then maybe it evolves one way or the other.
Yeah, but they want to win. It's one thing to get a rotation spot when you play for, I'm sorry, Doug, the Charlotte Hornets, but it's another when you play for a team that's actually trying to compete for a title. Sorry, buddy.
Well, but at the beginning of the season, things are a lot different. And in fact, that transitions perfectly into what Bronny James's father, LeBron James, said on the latest edition of his podcast, Mind the Game, at the beginning of the regular season and the beginning of the playoffs feature two totally different games. He said this, quote, "If they're going to allow the playoffs to be as physical as it is, you have to give us a little bit of time to prepare for it," unquote. He suggested that the final 12 to 15 games of the season be officiated like the postseason. Is that a good suggestion, Matt?
Post All-Star. The league doesn't want to admit this, right? They don't want to admit that it's any different, but make the determination. This happened last year, and it was really helpful that they did change after All-Star, and all of a sudden guys did have time to kind of adapt for it. Just make the change after All-Star. Hey, let everybody know. After All-Star, the whistles are going away. That to me is a smart move.
Haize.
Yeah, I agree with it. Let everybody prepare for the physicality of it. Let the fans prepare for it. It was one of the things that made this playoff so exciting, especially at the start of it, how physical it got. So yeah, it was so consistently more physical. I can understand players needing time to adjust to it. So give it to them.
Maybe we'll talk more about this in the offseason, but I think this plays into, Matt, one of your suggestions, which is to move the in-season tournament to the All-Star break. And maybe that could be the sort of all right, we're going to officiate the in-season tournament a different way. And that could be sort of the point at which we make that pivot. That could be interesting.
Yeah, I just, and what was the other thing I was going to, shorten the season.
No, that's the whole idea. They're never going to do that. So what other solutions do we have? All right.
Do not stop, Doug. The cause continues.
If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get podcasts, including on YouTube. Thanks to Matt and Haize for their expertise every day. Thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen. We'll be back tomorrow for your second listen. Check out the Locked On NBA Big Board Show. NBA draft expert Rafael Barlow reacts to every workout, interview, and rumor leading up to the NBA draft. Find Locked On NBA Big Board on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Be kind to each other. We're going to see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On NBA.